Hello, I'm Dima Hijazi, Automation Team Leader at ISS Software Hype, and today it's our second episode in Build Solution Faster with Nintex. I will present the petty cash process in the finance department. In our agenda, we'll go through a solution demo. I will initiate a new request to check the different approval step inside the workflows and the different features. Then we'll go technical deep dive on how we can customize the form and configure the workflow. Then at the end, we will have a wrap up and a conclusion. Let's go now to our demo. Here it's our dashboard built inside SharePoint 2019. It's considered as a homepage or digital hub to organize and divide all the functions inside the petty cash system to initiate a new request, check the tasks waiting the approval, etc. We have the submit petty cash request. We have another tile to check the cash balance inside each region, submit reimbursement, archived invoices library, my tasks or the waiting or the pending tasks waiting the approval. I will submit a new request. So if we'll click here, we'll go here to the form. We have the progress bar to check the status of our request. For example, here it's with the initiator or the submitter, then it will go to the line manager, then to the finance manager, then to the petty cash holder. The assignees of each task, for example, the line manager, finance manager, or petty cash holder, will differ based on the region, the department, and the division. First, if we choose, for example, here, Dakhliya, the manager list will be refreshed. So I will choose, for example, Muhammad Abdin. The department list, it's retrieved from inside SharePoint. So I will choose Control Center. We'll have a unique division inside the department Control Center, which is planning and asset management. If we change from Control Center to Customer Affairs, we'll have supply. Let me check if we have asset management, supply, division, project management. So based on the department, the division will be changed. We have the offices, Nizwa, the finance manager also. I will choose also Muhammad Abdin. Petty cash holders, the same user. In the request details, we need to specify the request of our petty cash request. So here I will add item 1, quantity 15, unit price 200. Automatically the amount will be calculated here and the total amount of all the items will be calculated outside the repeating section. Add a new row, item 2, quantity 5, unit price 107. Go to calculate it as well. Item 3, 20. So here we have the total amount of our request. In the additional info, we can add a reason or a comments. Here you will see my comments. And I will submit the request. So here total amount must not surpass 200 Oman Riyal. So we need to change the amount 15. Then let me try to submit still. Okay, submit. Automatically, once the submitter or the initiator submit the initial request, it will go to the line manager. After the line manager, it will go to the finance manager. If I will go to my tasks and refresh the page, a new request or a new task must appear here. It's the request of the line manager, and he either need to approve the task or to reject it or to return it to the submitter. So here we have a new task, petty cache line manager, and if I will go minimize this one, if I will go to the history of all the petty cache requests from here. Okay, let me go down. This one. Here the status will change from initiator, it's completed, then it's pending with the line manager. Okay, I will go to the petty cache line manager task. For the sake of the demo, all the tasks will be redirected to Muhammad Abdin account. Here we have the employee information, the department name, region, division, etc. The request details, manager decision, approve, reject, or return, and the history of comments. For example, I will click on approve, please proceed. Now, once the line manager approves the request, it will go to the finance manager, either to approve or to reject as well, or to return for review to the initiator. In parallel, a document will be generated based on the information filled out inside the form. So let me refresh this one. This is our initial form completed with the line manager and pending with the finance manager. If I will go back to my tasks and refresh the workflow task list, the task did not appear. Let's wait for a few seconds. I will go to our library to check the document that should be generated. All the generated documents will be available here inside the petty cache receipt library. So here we have different PDF already generated. All this PDF will be generated based on a predefined template upload inside the library. We'll check it later in our technical deep dive. I will open one document, for example. It's here. We'll have the employee information, the department, division, holder, payment term, the item description, subtotal, and approved by whom and at which date. This receipt can be sent later for electronic signature for a specific assignee or a specific signer. So I will go back to the petty cache library, refresh again the library. If the document has been generated, we have a new document here. If I will open it, it will include the employee details, same filled out inside our initial form. Then the item descriptions, we have 3 items, the subtotal, tasks, and the approver or the audit trail. When the document is generated, it will go for Nintex sign to be electronically signed by a specific signers. Let me go back to our dashboard here and check the other functions. Here we have the petty cache dashboard. The petty cache dashboard will include our reports built inside Power BI. We connect Power BI into our SharePoint list. Then all the data will be automatically retrieved and we can build different type of reports or graphs. For example, here we have requests count per department. Here we can go and check drill down and change all the other reports based on the chosen department here. For example, control center. If we go to legal services, we'll have the count of requests here, the amount, the total amount requested, the amount by region or the amount by office. So this dashboard can be embedded inside SharePoint pages and displayed for the end user. Let's skip now the solution demo and go technically on the customization of the form and the configuration of the workflow. So now we'll start to customize and build our service. First, we need to create the SharePoint list. I already created an Excel sheet that contains the different lists we need. First, we need our main list, which is the petty cache. It will include the employee name, advanced choice control, division, list lookup from a SharePoint list that includes all the division, region, department per division, office. We have also a list of offices. Inside each region, we will have the reason or comments, multi-line text. We have our BOQ, which is a repeating section inside our Nintex form. It will include the item description, quantity, amount, then total amount of all items, request details, request date, finance manager, etc. Another list, governor rate list, include two columns, governor rate name and governor rate ID. Governor rate users will include the manager name, petty cash holder name, finance manager per office and per region. Department, we have the department list and division list. So let's now jump to our workflow, how we will configure the different approval steps and the different features of the petty cache workflow or the petty cache service. We will create or we will see the existing workflows already configured. We'll go here, Nintex workflow. All the workflows configured on top of this list will be listed here. We may have published or unpublished workflow. The first step or the first workflow is the line manager, petty cache line manager. I will open it and check the different actions inside it. First, we need to create a specific or unique title for each request submitted. So we'll use a build string. We will concatenate different string or different expression. First, we see like petty cache. Then we will add the item property or the ID of the item. You can insert it here from the reference. Insert reference. Inside the tab item properties, you can find ID. Then we need to format the date. So I will add only the year number. So we can go to insert reference, how to format the date inside the workflow. You can use the inline functions, format date, choose the date to format. You can current date, it will appear here inside the comment. Then you will choose the format string you need. For example, we need only the year numbers, so YYY. And you can find all the others format string inside Nintex community. It's already published there. And then we will store the result in a variable of type text, which is var title. You can create variables directly from the action while configuring. So you click on variables, new, and you type the name of your variable, then you choose the type of your variable. Click cancel, close. After building the title, you should update the current item with the new title, and of course update the status. First, you choose which column to update. We need to update the title and status. Title will be var title, and status, since it is a number, we will add 1. So automatically, once the initiator will open the initial form to check the status of his request, the workflow, the function, the JavaScript function embedded inside the form will work on form load, and it will add, it will change the status from initiator to line manager. Initiator will be in green, and line manager will be in red. So I will jump on one request, example here. This is the request we submitted earlier. So here, for the initiator, it's green. For the line manager, it's green also. It's pending now with the finance manager. And the status will be, in this case, too. Let's go again to the workflow. Jump. Here, I already add the logo URL and the web URL to a configuration list inside SharePoint. You can do the same way, or embed directly the logo URL of the image or of the company inside the task form, and use the web URL comment variable from inside the insert reference. Second, since we have a list called petty cache history of comments, all our comments and the action taken during the workflow and during the flow will be updated inside this list. For each petty cache request, a new item will be added inside the history of comments list, and the comments or the history will be updated accordingly. Why? Because this workflow, it's the first workflow here, line manager. It may go back It may go further to the finance manager or the petty cash holder. Then for some reason, it will be returned back to the same assignee here, which is the line manager. And in any step, the initiator can check the comments and the action taken on his submitted request. So just here, we need to get the item ID and the item comments for this current request. We will check in the next step how we can generate the history of comments and how the items or the new row will be added to the petty cash history of comments list. Let's go down. We will consider it's a new item. It's the first time this workflow will run. So we'll go here and we will create a new item inside the petty cash history of comments. The title will be ID, the current item ID, and the item ID title is a default column in any SharePoint list. Item ID, it's a column added inside the petty cache history of comments, which will hold the ID of the current request or the petty cache request. Then we will start to build the history of comments. So we will create a table. Let's copy and paste this one inside an HTML beautifier. Okay. Format HTML. Okay. So here we have our table header. It will contain a name, date, decision, comments. So you can add your own style for the table, and for each column inside the table, we have name, date, decision, comments, and automatically it will be updated after each approval step. So let's jump to the workflow designer again. All this HTML tag will be stored inside a variable of type text, which is called var history of comments. Let's jump here. Now for the first row, it will be the request submitted and filled out by the initiator. So here we will take the created by display name from the current item. You can choose here. You can choose, for example, created by. It's a default column inside SharePoint. Then go to this menu and choose the return type. You can either display his display name, his email address, his user ID, or his login name. Then for the regular expression, we need to add a new line to our history of comments. So let me copy and paste this again. I will remove this tag. Remove this one. Format HTML. It's here. So we'll add a new row. For the name, it will be the workflow variable we have created, and we concatenate dash initiator. And then for the date, it will be the current date. For the decision, it will be initiated. And for the comments, you can add any comments you need. For example, we can add the request submitted, the request filled out by initiator, request forwarded to the line manager, etc. Then we need to add again the tag table HTML. So again, we'll add a regular expression to remove this pattern from the history of comments, to remove the footer table HTML. Then add our replacement text, which is a new row containing the initiator name and his comments. Then as input, from where we will remove this from the history of comments, and we will store the result again in the history of comments variable. Now we will go to our task. We will add an assign flexi task The assignee will be the manager. The manager is stored inside our SharePoint list. So you click on reference, select people or group, go to lookup, go down to the item property and choose manager. Then we need to add another outcome. By default, it's approve, reject. We will add one more outcome, return, to return the request to the initiator for more information or for review. Then we will store the outcome in a variable called var outcome. So once the request or the task is approved or a decision will be taken in this task, the outcome will be stored inside this variable. You can add a specific task name using this field. We will store the task ID in a var task ID variable. The type of the var task ID will be integer. This will be used after completing the task to take the comments, to take the name of the assignee, and to take the outcome. You can configure your task notification here inside the task notification. You can have different notification for each assignee if you have multiple assignee, or you can have one unique task notification. You will specify the subject here. You can change the priority of the email from normal to low and high. And here you will add your notification or the body of the email. You can configure reminders or escalation to complete the task after a specific period or to delegate it to another user after a specific period. Now we will configure the form. So we have added form with Nintex. Here, usually, we will not build the task form from scratch. We will export the initial form from the list, import it here, then select all the controls. So we'll export the form, import it inside our task form, select all the control and change the display mode from new or edit to display only or to read only. So we'll change the control mode from edit or auto to display. We will add a new panel for the manager decision, and automatically the decisions can be found here from the task columns menu. We have decision, we have comment. For the history of comments, you should only add a multi-line text box. The default value will be our workflow variable, var history of comments. You will find it here in the workflow variable tab. As rich text, it should be yes. And for the type of text, it will be enhanced rich text. And it should be display only. So now we have our history of comments, our decision, our comments. We need to add 2 more tabs to our custom tab or to our choice. So manager decision and history of comments. Same rule, you should create the same rule here. For the manager decision, it will only be displayed if custom tab or tab does not include manager decision. In this case, it will be hidden. And for the history of comments as well, if tabs does not contain history of comments, please hide this section. For the submit, the button action should be save and submit. And you can specify the redirect URL here. Automatically, once he submit the request or he take decision, he will be redirected to the home page of the system. So let's close our task. Cancel. For each branch now, you should start creating what action to be taken. For example, for the rejection, we should send a notification to the initiator informing him that his request has been rejected by the line manager. Okay, we'll specify the manager name here. You can use the common variables to choose that last task respondent display name. Automatically, the line manager display name will be stored here after submission. We will add the comments of the rejection. Then you should update the history of comments inside the petty cache history of comments. This list will be used for auditing after. So we'll go to query list. We will choose the workflow task list. For each workflow inside Nintex, you can associate a specific workflow task list, or you can choose or use the default workflow task list. For the filter, the ID will be equal to var task ID. Task ID is a variable we have used inside our flexi task. Then we need to take the assigned to var approver and the approver comments from the workflow task list and store the result into two specific variables. Then in the regular expression, we'll do the same. We need to remove or to replace the pattern with a new row. Then we will add the pattern to the end of the new row. The input will be var history of comments, and we need to store the result in var history of comments variable. You can copy and paste this action set from here to here in order not to replicate the same work again and again in the three branches. Okay, so we have the same action set, update history of comments in reject branch, approve branch, and return branch. And after updating the history of comments in the reject branch, nothing will happen and the workflow will terminate here. For our second branch, which is the return, if the line manager return the task, it should go back to the initiator. Since we have create a unique workflow for each phase, we have a workflow for the line manager, workflow for the initiator, and workflow for the petty cache holder. We will use the start workflow action to start a workflow on the same list and on the same item ID. So all you need to do, drag and drop the start workflow action and choose the workflow name. Let me open it again. Okay, workflow to start, it's petty cache initiator review. You can start automatically the workflow or immediately, or schedule it after a specific time, or to repeat starting the workflow every specific period. Cancel. Now we will go to the approval branch. In case of approval, we will go to the finance manager. So here we have start workflow, and it will go to the finance manager task. In the second branch, so here we have two parallel actions, branch to start the next workflow and another branch to generate a document. So let's open the document generation. Using the document generation, you can generate any document based on a template. This template will be stored inside SharePoint, and the data inside this template or inside this Word document will be dynamically changed between one request to another request. So to configure the document generation, first you need to specify the template. So you can add document template, select or create a new template. In our case, the document template is already uploaded inside a document library inside SharePoint. So you just need to go to the specific path of your template and choose it here. Once you choose the document template, you can open and tag it inside the Word, Office Word. Actually, our template, it's here, Petty Cash Lockgen template, uploaded inside the receipt library. So you can open and tag the document. Choose to open in Word, then the Word document will open directly. Okay, this is our template. In each place, you can add the dynamic value. For example, here, I need to add the title of the request. So let's assume it's like this. I need to add the title. So I have a Nintex document tagger add-on. If it's not available, all you need to do is to install it from the Office add-on library or add-on store. You go to item properties, search for title. So here it's title, double click, and it will be inserted automatically. We have in the other section, we need to add the employee name, department, division, petty cash holder, and payment terms. Same will be applied. Deleted. We need to search for employee name, and automatically it's added. If, for example, you need to add a date to your template, you can insert it also and change the format of the date using this menu. Okay, then we have to add the item description. Here you need first to parse the query XML, or parse the XML or the repeating section using a query XML, then embed the values here. So first, let me go again to our workflow. Okay. Let's choose query XML. We will create this together. Query XML. Okay. Choose XML. Since the repeating section inside Nintex will be stored as XML in the SharePoint list, you need to parse it in order to extract all the values and all the items. Let me do something. For example, here in the petty cash list, I will search for the BOQ. Here is the BOQ. Okay. I will try to copy and paste the BOQ. Copy field to clipboard. Then go again to the workflow. I will copy a static value for now. Okay, and we need to build or to add the Xpath for each item. So first we need to take the item description, then the quantity, then the amount. So how to do it? If we don't know actually how to build the Xpath, so Xpath builder, we have some sort of assistance inside the workflow. We'll choose here, items. I need to get, for example, description. Upload. So automatically the path will be built, but the path will be for item 2. So all you need to do is just to remove the brackets and the number. Okay. Again, for the other output, which is the quantity, same will apply. Repeat your data. I will go on in the tree. So here I will choose a quantity. Apply. Add output. So for this reason, you need to give the fields inside the repeater data or the repeating section a unique name. Otherwise, automatically Nintex will generate a name for each field and it will not be comprehensive. So let's go to the last one. To be amount, apply. So we have 4 outputs. For each output, we have specified the path. So we need to store the result in a column. The column should be a collection since we will have a multiple items. So we have already created different collection called description, collection underscore quantity, unit price. At the last, we have column amount. Don't forget to remove the XML since it's an example. Insert reference and choose the BOQ from the SharePoint list. Okay, save. Next, you need to go again to document generation. Choose table data. It's already here created the table columns. Add table. For example, here you will add a name for your table. It's a row because you can add table inside the table. Column 1 will be collection description of type string. You will add the other column. It will be quantity. You can add, for example, integer for the quantity. Call unit price. It can be decimal or number. Then we have the amount. So automatically, once you add the table data inside the document generation action and you define the 4 columns of your table, once you open again the document, the Word document for tagging, a start tag will automatically be here. So here, if you see, we have tables, we have 4 items, you have item start to define that from this point, the table will be started. Then you will add one by one the collection. We have column collection of description, collection of quantity, unit price, and amount. Then you will add the total. The total, it will be saved inside the item properties. At the end, you have the approved by, which is the petty cache holder, and the request date. So we will close. You will not save it since it's already configured. Let me go back again. I'll cancel here. Go again to the document generation. So once you tag the document, you need to specify the file name. The file extension is not required since it's already specified here if you need a PDF or the original file type. And plus, if you have different template to be generated, you can either choose to separate the PDF or the generated PDF or merge it inside one single PDF. Next, you should choose where to store the generated PDF and which output. You can save it inside a SharePoint library or attach it to the current item or store it in a external shared drive. Then we can use the electronic signature feature to electronically sign the generated document using Nintex sign. So we specify the initiator, the recipients, the recipient role, if signer, approver, acceptor, etc. The identity of the authentication. Once the signer will open the document to be signed, how he will be authenticated using his email, using his phone by SMS, using his password, using knowledge-based authentication, etc. You specify the agreement name, the expiry date of the document. You can add a message, it will appear automatically inside the email. Here, where the document to be signed is stored, it's inside our petty cache receipt library. The name, it will be titled.pdf. It's our generated PDF. And where to store the output or the signed copy, same document library or a external URL, or you can attach it to the current item. So by now we have configured our first workflow, which is the petty cache line manager. Once you have done from configuring the workflow, you should specify here how the workflow will be initiated on item creation or on item update, or using a conditional start. So here will start when items are created. And now we have finished the workflow. You can start now by creating the finance manager task and the initiator task. It will be the same workflow template we have used here. However, just you need to change the assignee of the task, the status number, and the next step or the previous step. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you in our next episode.